Hello, welcome to Insights and Inspirations. I'm Andrew Marlowe. And oh my word. I'm Andrew Marlowe.
I'm Monica Marlowe.
And we are here with Sean K Reynolds, who is apparently in
Cognito.
stealth mode.
I'm Sean K Reynolds. Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you guys?
Can we see you? We can't see you very well.
What?
You've got
still have
like
your
night
filter
vision up.
Yeah, let me put this little light on. Oh, wait, I have things unplugged. I'll be in the shadows for a moment. Go on.
That's all right.
I'm plugging in lights.
No, I don't know why it's coming through wrong.
It's because he got frozen.
Oh, okay, he did get frozen. All right.
I see.
He is no longer
so much
frozen.
Better. I'm here.
No, you're fine. Actually, it was stuck on our end. You got frozen. You're fine, Sean. We can see you now.
Yeah.
Oh, but you do actually look brighter now.
I couldn't tell.
Of course, on your side of the world, the sun is still up. It is already dark here.
The sun is right here.
I know. I see it coming in your window. Oh, I guess I should turn this off and mute it before I go. I go to the place where I can talk to everybody. I see people in our chat already.
Hello, everybody.
Chat room.
Michael and looks like Jeff Lee and King of Rock and Justin Sluter. So they're all saying hi.
Yeah.
Yes. You know those guys. We know those guys.
Known them since the Paizo days.
Yes.
Yes. That's where that's where I met you.
That's right. Superstar.
And one of the Cypher system, it is not Al. It is slipped my mind, and I had a note here. Spriggs is on.
Oh,
Cypher Unlimited. Yes,
yep.
We were on Cypher Unlimited last Wednesday, but now we're talking Cypher with Sean and other stuff.
Well, we'll talk other stuff too. So obviously we've got a lot of people in the audience who definitely know who you are. But for those people who may be watching this on YouTube or have been under a rock in gaming,
where have you been all this time?
Can you tell us a little bit about who you are? And
Sure. I will begin at the relevant beginning of the game industry for me. I worked at TSR in '95 as their webmaster guy. When Wizards bought TSR in '97, I joined the Greyhawk design team and then worked on Greyhawk and Forgotten Realms. Worked for a little bit on computer games for Interplay and Upper Deck on games like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Marvel vs. DC. And then I went on to be a developer and designer at Paizo Publishing for many years, and left, went back for a little bit, and now I am a designer at Monty Cook Games with a bunch of my friends, working on Numenera and Cypher System.
Yay! So before what?
Anthony, thank you, Anthony. I totally slipped my mind.
I was gonna say, so before we get to
oh, that's right. Sean forgot to mention that he was the Inquisitor in Gamers 2, Darkness Rising. One of my favorite movies.
That's true, I was that. And I was also in the Attacking the Darkness movie playing a snarky version of myself.
What?
A snarky version?
There's a snarkier version of you?
Oh, you have no idea.
I'm going to have to find that one.
I have my suspicions. I think I'll like it.
Is that by the same guys?
Sort of. There's some overlap. So Attacking the Darkness is not a Zombie Archers production, I think. But Attacking the Darkness is a mockumentary put together by Christian Doyle, who plays the Wild Mage in Gamers Darkness Rising. And it's basically a mockumentary about the making of the Attacking the Darkness movie. And Christian plays his character Gary from Darkness Rising, and I play myself, who the filmmakers hire as experts to make sure that the evil version of role-playing games that appears in their movie is accurate, so they can know about
That's going to be awesome.
And we're like, it's just a game. And they're like, no. we're cool. You can tell us the truth. We're like, no, it's just a game. No, man, we're cool. Tell us. And then Gary and I are like, all right, we'll tell you. And so we pull out an enchanter mask and a skull mask. And we're like, this is what, we have to turn all the dice to 666.
That is awesome.
So before we get to all the pro stuff, what's been going on? What's been going on with you? Have you seen any good movies lately? Read any books?
When does he have time for that?
Well,
it's funny that you say that because I have not read many books in the past year because I've been so busy writing. But I finally got around to reading Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which was a great little sci-fi book about people on a spaceship coming together and becoming family. I am rewatching The OA season 1. For rewatching it for the first time, watching it with my girlfriend who has not seen it yet. We just watched episode 1, loving it. I forgot how much I love that. I'm also watching The Mist on Netflix, the one season of that series, which is pretty cool. And I just wrapped up watching season 2 of an Australian show called Glitch, which is about a group of people who crawl out of their graves in this tiny little town, and they're trying to figure out why.
That sounds good. That one I haven't seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
So Andrew just watched the OA shortly before the second season dropped, but I had watched it back in 2016.
I hadn't realized it had been on for that long, and I had just kept putting it off and putting it off. She's like, that's 3 years old. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe it was 3 years old. I mean, we'll try not to do any spoilers, but I can't wait to see what everyone thinks of the second season.
I need to watch the second season.
I was afraid that it wouldn't live up to the first season, and it's definitely different. It's sort of a second season in the same way Stranger Things 2 and Stranger Things 3 were second seasons, but it does pick up right where it left off too. So it's sort of it's neat, and I've been dying for people to watch it so I can talk about it.
Yeah, I want to see it, but have not yet.
Sorry.
Have you had a chance? You didn't put it on your list, but have you had a chance to even look at the Dragon Prince yet? The animated on Netflix.
Oh, 2 seasons are up on it.
Yeah, and it's there.
It's
so much of my focus right now is on horror stuff because I'm working on this horror book.
Well,
I need to keep up with. I haven't even watched The Expanse yet. It's okay, that sounds really great, and everybody at MCG loves this, but I need to focus on horror stuff and not watch 3 seasons of a sci-fi show when I have horror work.
Fair. Skip the Dragon Prince for the time being, then.
The Dragon Prince is by the same people who did Avatar and Last Airbender, and it has sort of the same. You can tell it's not the same world, but it has the same kinds of flavors, and it's only half-hour episodes too. And our kids were like, "Okay, so we need to watch the second season," and Andrew had to go to work, and we're like, "Well, you can catch up." So they were really excited. They've pushed us to watch a lot of shows that we probably would have watched anyway, but not in a timely fashion.
Sure.
So, while you've brought it up, you've got a horror book to write, which was part of your best game ever.
Yeah, so one of the books we unlocked is a horror genre book called Stay Alive. Bruce is doing the one on science fiction, Monty's doing the one on fantasy, and Sean is doing the one on myths and fairy tales. I got the horror one.
Yay!
And I've been working on it for about a week and a half, and really at this point, it's just okay, let me just go and break out a bunch of genres, and this genre was going to get 2 specific pages talking about its tropes and how to add scary elements of that. I just finished writing the section on evil clowns. And so
Section on evil clowns.
Oh my gosh. So
here's how to add scary evil clown aspects to your campaign or your one shot that has evil clowns. Hey, you know what? Just seeing evil clowns is kind of creepy. And you're going to hand out pre-gen characters, hide little drawings of evil clowns in the margins of the character sheets. Stick little clown images on the bottom of your drinking cup. Things like that. Just ways to just kind of reinforce that there's creepy clowns.
That's
everywhere.
Awesome.
Oh.
So I have not seen Us yet, but apparently there is a recurring imagery of rabbits, and that's apparently because Jordan is afraid of rabbits.
Okay.
And so I really, really enjoyed his Get Out.
Yes.
I foresee him being a strong force in the future of horror. He really retells horror stories in a really
interesting way.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed what he's done.
Yeah, Us is on my list, and there will be a section on doppelgangers and changelings in Stay Alive as well. Question of like which of us is the real one, and swapping out. There's the point when you have to take one of the players aside or pass them a note and say, "Okay, now you're the doppelganger of you. You're secretly working against everybody else."
Yeah, not to throw a spoiler out, but it's an old module, but one of my favorite Ravenloft modules did that. And if you were caught alone with the doppelgangers, and GM would eventually tell you at some point you're a doppelganger, go ahead and play it as if you've been replaced.
Yep.
And
that's fun.
It's
fun to do that.
It's a little railroady, but it was a neat module the way they set it up, and it kept it from being too rough. And I want to say it was called Hour of the Knife. If that rings any bells.
I like how you say no spoilers, and then you just give the title of the adventure later.
Well, I said not very many. I mean,
it's old. I mean, it is probably outside the 10-year range of,
Oh, that's a given. That's a given.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It was a second ed module, so I don't feel too guilty about it.
If somebody wants to pick it up and read it, someone wants to pick it up and read it and run it in, Numenera or the Cipher system.
They just don't tell people what it is.
They just don't tell people what it is.
Some of these things are 20 years old. It's like at some point, somebody who enters the geek hobby, you're
right.
like, okay, you need to sit down and watch Star Wars. And if you've been in the geek hobby for 5 years and you still haven't watched Star Wars, I'm sorry, guess what? Darth Vader's his dad.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. These people die. I mean, that's, it may be still too soon, but Wash doesn't make it through the movie. I mean, there just are things that
soon.
I know. I told you it'd be too soon.
I don't watch the Serenity movie. Actually, I held off on watching Serenity for about 2 years because I had heard what happens. I said, as long as I don't watch it in my head, my headcanon of the Firefly universe, that hasn't happened yet.
Well, there you go. As long as your headcanon is okay, Vader dies, washes the way. Sorry, Michael. Han
kills Luke.
Han kills Luke. No, wait, that's not true. But it might be
somewhere
here in spoilerific land. Insights.
Some alternate reality. It could be.
Maybe we will be in spites. In spites of. So, since we are talking about horror, what is your favorite brand of horror? Do you have one?
I'm a big fan of Stephen King, and I obviously like It, the novel It, and the Tim Curry miniseries with him as Pennywise. And I just got my girlfriend to finally read It. She was very excited because we were going to watch the new movie, but she wanted to read the book first. I don't know. I've never really liked clowns. I don't like circuses. Oh, I've lost connection. Cool.
Have you?
Well, I will wait to see if that comes back.
You're still here. I can hear you.
Okay,
and
good.
We can see you moving.
Thank you, lying Skype. Oh, now you're all sharp. Okay, good. I think slasher movies don't really do it for me, but I think creative uses of horror and suspense and my taste of always there's fantasy, sci-fi, horror stuff. And so anybody who could take a bunch of elements of horror and put them together to something interesting and kind of fresh, that's really appealing to me, which is actually kind of why the Stay Alive book is being written the way it is, because you could have a slasher film that's just a typical like Friday the 13th or Freddy or Michael Myers sort of thing. But if you bring in other elements like, oh, it's a clown. Then it becomes a Pennywise sort of situation, or it's a werewolf, or whatever. Like, horror isn't really, for gaming, isn't so much its own genre as it's a layer. You just kind of add layers of the horror subgenre onto whatever you're doing. You could have a regular sci-fi space game and have horror elements to it. You could have a
that becomes Alien.
Yes, exactly. And so it's a flavor you add to your campaign. And the neat thing about horror is you can have like one in the middle of your campaign. Like, oh, guess what? You're having this fantasy adventure? Well, here's this creepy old haunted castle. And so for this 1 or 2 sessions, we're going to be a haunted castle. We're going to be in horror mode, and things are going to be different. Okay, good. We escaped that place. Let's never go there again.
Nuke it for morbid. It's the only way.
Yeah. And it's just fun because you can like amp up the tension. It's not something you necessarily want to do every single session or every single week, but saying, yeah, you know what? It's getting to be Halloween. Like Monty runs. We've been playing Invisible Sun as a playtest, and now the game is live. We've been playing our campaign for 2 years now, and for the past 2 Halloweens he's had a special Halloween scary session with our group where we go into this place called the Dark House. Ooh. And it's this one old dead Vizslay's house, and it's haunted. There are demons all over the place, and reputedly no one ever gets out, but we managed to get out somehow. We're like, we're never going back. And then a year later, we're like, oh crap, we have to go back.
we used to do holiday one shots, and probably one of my favorite games, although there have been many, was when what Andrew would do is for like the couple weeks before the holiday, he'd be like, so what do you want to play? And I'd be like, oh, you know what? I really like ghost stories, and I really like this, and I really like that. And, then we get to the game, and like all the elements are there. And it was it was a pretty classic ghost story, but he told it in such a way that we didn't know what was coming at the end. And it really made the story that much better, because even though I'd like thrown out like all these ideas and stuff like that, it came together in such a neat way. And I think I like psychological horror. I'm not a big one. It was the one that Julia played.
That's the one where you all turned out to be the ghosts.
Yeah, we turned out to be the ghosts. We were trying to rescue people. We thought we were trying to rescue people, and it turned out that we were reliving our own deaths. So we all ended up being dead. It was neat.
And some of the haunting effects were actually the living moving through the house.
Right. So like the what was that movie? The
Others.
The Others, yeah. That one. I like that one too. Yeah, so it ended up being like that. Yeah, they're ghosts. That movie's also more than 10 years old. But yeah,
Sean's gonna be so mad when she sees this.
She's what?
She's gonna be so mad when she sees this, because she's one of those people like, why dude, you tell spoilers? I'm like, it's been 15 years.
Hey,
we get into arguments about this all the time.
If it's more than 10 years old, it's like, common knowledge. And if it's not common knowledge to you, then shame on you. If you haven't seen a movie in 10 years, I don't know what to tell you.
Walk up to stuff, say, you should see this really cool movie. By the way, here's a spoiler.
No.
But I want to be able to talk about stuff.
Right. I mean, we still haven't really talked about Black Panther, and that's been out for a couple of years. And
yeah, and there are things that just don't talk about.
Yeah, you just don't talk about it because it's still like fresh enough that there might be people who just haven't had a chance to see it. I mean, we were those people for a while. I mean, we had kids who we couldn't take to the movies, and we didn't get to see stuff until they came out on video.
Yeah, I didn't see Get Out till 2 weeks ago.
I still haven't had a chance to see it.
Yeah, I bought it when it first. I bought it when it started streaming.
Oh, we have it?
Yes, we have it. It's on Amazon. See, that'll teach you. But yeah, no, I like thinking horror where the real monster is the people. That kind of thing. And so I'll be interested to see what you have to add to that. Yep, February 18th is when Black Panther anniversaries, or February 2019 is anniversary. Yeah, see, so, I mean, it feels like it's been like 6 years since it came out because I've only seen it 100 times, but, what do I know?
And we've had 11 other Marvel superhero movies.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So.
And some of them have been jaw dropping.
Oh, I know. I can't hardly wait till next month.
I'm excited to see what happens as we go forward with that. So we talked a little bit about your horror book. Is there anything else that you can talk about that you're working on right now, or is about to come out that has been announced that we might have missed?
Well, Priest of the Eons is about to be released. That was on pre-order until recently, and we just do a jumble because of weather and shipping and stuff. We have like 4 different books from MCG that are coming out all basically the same time. Book M, Priest of the Eons, Slaves of Shingo just came out, and one other that I can't think of just because they just all kind of like squished up against each other. And then Gamma happened, and so we didn't get a chance to do fulfillment. But my book, Priest of the Eons, comes out very soon. Today's Tuesday, maybe this week, maybe next week.
I think we got our PDF for it.
We have our PDF for that.
Yeah, we got our PDF for that.
That's the thing. The people who handle the fulfillment of PDFs and print products, they're all the ones who went to the Gamma trade show. And so, while it's easy to say, here's your PDF with a button, it's not as easy to say, here are your 2,000 backers who need physical copies with a button. You actually need a person in the warehouse to do that. So they said, we're going to fill the PDF. We'll do the print copy and make it back. But yeah, Priest of the Eons is my first solo Numenera book. It's about the Eon priests, which are the kind of the movers and shakers of technology in the Ninth World. And it was kind of my head wrapped around what to do with that book, because we had said a little bit about them, but we left so much open for GMs that I didn't want to really contradict what they were doing. And so I had to kind of strike a middle ground of, well, here's stuff that they can be doing in your campaign. Basically, there's a bunch of tools for what you might want to do with the Eon Priests. And there's, some people are like, well, I like to run them as Inquisitors trying to hunt down rogue users of technology. And there's, options for having specialists like Cavaliers and Paladins who are like hunting weird technology. But another aspect of the Numenera, or of the Ninth World setting, is that the settlements are so far apart that it's hard for information to propagate. And so, 100 miles away might as well be 1,000 miles away, because if some Eon Priest goes rogue there,
nobody will know.
At the Amber Monolith might not hear about it for years. Meanwhile, the guys, has enslaved people in the town, or they turn them all into like crystalline entities that are draining their life force or whatever. And so when the Amber Pope hears about that, it's like, we should do something about that. They slowly send people out there. So it was really interesting just to kind of like find that middle space where I want to provide you a bunch of information that you can add to your campaign, but not tell you what to do with your campaign.
Yeah, there are villains in ours.
No, they're not.
Well, they're
not.
What's that?
So in the game we play on Sunday nights, they're not quite the villains, but they're
close.
Well, they are for me.
Yeah.
My character's actually in a different made up sect that we made up for our specific game, and we're racing to collect stuff before them, because so they're not really the villains in our game, but as far as my character's concerned, they're the enemy, and they must die.
You're just
I just like to kill people. I just like to kill people. That's actually my job. I'm an assassin.
Are you a character who murders?
No, actually, I explore dark places, and I consider my soul to be one of the darkest places I explore.
Okay. So mechanically, two of the things I really liked about the Priest of the Eons book is that I took all of the foci from Discovery and Destiny and added another, I think it's another tier 3 ability choice. And the premise is that if anybody knows about unlocking additional powers from these weird explorer type characters, it's the Eon Priest. And so the idea is, hey, Eon Priest, I have these abilities. What can you do for me? And they're like, well, we got this weird mutagenic treatment or radiation or chemicals or implants or whatever. And we could unlock this other ability that nobody else has. And so it's the opportunity to say, you know what, I don't really like option A or B, or I already have option A or B by spending XP. What's option C? And then the other one was kind of inspired by all the tech characters in superhero comics or all the characters who have like a tech buddy, like Vibe from The Flash in the Flash TV show. He's like, oh, I made some improvements to your suit that'll do this and this and this. It's like, what if the Aeon Priest played that role for the PCs.
So
He
they're
said,
the Q.
Hey, you bear Halo of Fire. Let's put this weird suit together that has all these controls and augmentation nodes on it like that, and see if we could like augment and fiddle with certain abilities that you can do. And so basically, it's a custom suit made for you and your particular character focus, and lets you come up with expanded abilities and enhanced abilities.
I see one of those in our Friday night game.
I thought that was. I mean, there's a lot of work because I had to do that for every single focus in Discovery.
Oh
and
my
Destiny.
gosh! And there's quite
a lot of focuses.
That's a lot.
But it was fun. The end result was pretty fun.
That's awesome, though.
I foresee that coming to our game on a Friday.
I actually haven't broken out my PDF yet because I am waiting for the physical book. I'm a physical book guy. But I was, excited to have the PDF, even though all I did is kind of like skim through it very briefly. I didn't really see that. That makes me want to go open the PDF now. not right now, but
you can. I mean, it's right there on that computer. But it would be a little rude to our guests.
No arguments.
You have two hosts, so Monica, you could just take over 100%.
Oh no, I can't.
She's like, oh no,
no. He's got the notes, and I can't read that far.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah, but your handwriting is so small. Like I'd have to take my glasses off and hold it up to my face. Yeah. So what can you tell us that's a secret?
About what?
I don't know anything.
Cut that out.
Okay.
You heard it here first from Sean.
We are going to, for the Arcana of the Ancients Kickstarter, we're going to reveal, I'm not sure how much trouble I'm going to get if I say this because there's timing issues. We're going to reveal what the next stretch goal is. I mean, we're about to hit a stretch goal, so we're going to reveal what that one is. But I think we're going to reveal what the next book is after that very soon.
Okay.
And that'll make people go,
ooh.
Interesting.
So I have a question about Arcana of the Ancients. So for those people who don't know what Arcana of the Ancients is, it's your current Kickstarter for basically bringing Numenera into 5e.
Yep.
So obviously with our audience the way it is, we're talking with a lot of people who are playing Pathfinder. I'm certain that there's going to be a lot of general advice in here. So is there something that would be beneficial for those of us who aren't playing 5e right now that we would find in there that would be exciting and new? Or is it going to be very specifically 5e?
I mean, it'll be using the 5e rules.
Mm-hmm.
And I've played a little bit of 5e, and it's not something where you could just drag and drop right into playing Pathfinder.
Right.
And certainly not Pathfinder 2nd Edition because nobody's seen the final version of those rules.
Right.
But anybody who is reasonably familiar with Pathfinder and with 5e could probably just do a couple of tweaks and use it. And a lot of it is because the game mechanics are general enough. Like if you've seen the preview, it talks about, hey, this detonation, is a gravity detonation, and it makes everybody in a 20-foot radius smash down to the ground, and they can't move unless they make like a strength save. Well, if you're playing Pathfinder, you could obviously say, well, it's probably a 4. It's an easy sort of convert,
right,
that sort of thing. So somebody playing Pathfinder could handle that because 5e and Pathfinder are both D20 based systems running off of a general sort of 3e-ish chassis.
Right. So that was, that's kind of what I was expecting to hear. I didn't know if there was going to be also like general advice just for how to do it in such general terms where it wasn't going to be necessarily rule specific. But I guess since it's not written yet, it's hard to say.
To address that specifically, I believe, and other people have asked on the Kickstarter, hey, are you going to have general rules on converting other Numenera stuff, other Cypher System stuff to Pathfinder? And so, assuming we put that in there, which it makes sense that we would do that, I think kind of analyzing the Cypher System / Numenera rules material and saying, okay, when you're developing a creature, you need to look at this and think about how that affects its hit dice, and think about these abilities and how it affects its saving throws and its skills and that sort of thing. You could apply that same sort of logic to Pathfinder or any old school sort of game. It's just you're taking that last step of, oh, this should be 12 hit dice because this monster has 12 hit dice versus, oh, in Pathfinder, that monster has 16 hit dice. So the last tiny bit of detail, but the general how to think about the creature should be very useful to anybody playing Pathfinder.
Right.
Okay. Did you have other questions written down? I didn't prepare anything. I had.
You've been asking questions, so obviously you had some thoughts. So it's all the same.
I just BS well, and we talked horror. I love horror.
Right. Well, all right. So I did have one other thing I was going to bring up.
Oh yeah. Can you
Your
see
5
it?
moons.
Okay.
So is there anything that I mean? I don't know. Has anybody even talked to you about this online anywhere? Have you done?
Now and then I'll get questions about it. I actually still need to finish putting together the monster book for that. I've just been so busy with MCG projects that I haven't had time to actually put that text into layout and get the art for it, which is probably about 2 to 3 weeks of my idle time outside of MCG. I just need to be like, okay.
This is going to be my idle time.
Yeah, idle time and heavy quotes. I know 5 Moons is a funny thing for me because I released it to the backers, and I don't think I have it available for general sale. So, the backers know about it. The backers have their copies, but outside of that, the other people are like, Sean made a role-playing game that's like Pathfinder Light. Where can I get this? And the answer is, my focus was getting it to the backers. I think once I get the monster book put together, then I will release and print on demand on sale from drive-through.
We're having the dropsies here or something. I don't know what's going on.
Stuttering. I'm not sure how much of that you heard.
No, I think we got most of that. No, I was we got our copy of 5 Moons, and I was taken by how old school it looks.
Yes. I deliberately chose the style and stuff based on the old basic and expert D&D sets.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's like he knew me. And so many other people out there. It was just, I was delighted.
Yeah, that was deliberate. And the black and white art. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was also taken by how slim the book is. The rules are, I mean, I knew it was going to be a rules light version of Pathfinder or something in that vein, but wow, you really trimmed it down. Really trimmed it down. It's nice.
Yeah. I mean, I worked on Pathfinder for 6 years, and Pathfinder is based on 3E, and that's a really complex game system. And after being a developer and designer for that for so long, I was just like, I need something simpler. I want to just squish that down and not have so many parts that have to fit together in exactly the right way. And so I made 5 Moons. And it's funny because when I was still working at Paizo, there were ideas that I was thinking, if we made a second edition of Pathfinder, this is what I would like to do. I would like to change this way of attacks, this way of handling saves, that sort of thing. And I ran like a little mini playtest at PaizoCon one year called Rules Experimentation. And so there are 6 people who got to play that. And they gave me some feedback on like how action points and stuff worked. And then a year later, Paizo internally...
Wait, you're cut up there.
We're going to start working on second. And I was like, cool.
You cut out there, so we didn't actually hear what you said.
You said Paizo. I think you said Paizo internally.
Yeah, so it sounds like it was a secret, like Paizo blurred that out for us.
They probably did. So Paizo had decided they were going to start working on second edition, and I said, cool. And then I said, no, I'm going to leave and move to Indiana. And so I didn't end up working on Pathfinder second edition. And all the stuff, like, the kind of base ideas that I thought of for this, which initially were my ideas for kind of second edition, but also got greatly expanded when I drove back from Indiana one year after Gen Con. My then wife Jody and I discussed back and forth a lot of ideas. Well, how can we make this better? Let's do this. Let's make bards a more important thing. Let's have everybody give everybody each other buffs, and let's have boosts and this and that. Like a lot of those things came up out of this discussion with her about it. Just quickly speared off into this is a different game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
and
It's nice to have someone you can bounce stuff off of too.
Yeah, and especially when you're driving in the car for 8 to 10 hours a day and you have nothing else to do, and there you go. It's funny, like I said in the intro of the book, it's probably, having now worked on Cypher System more intensively for the past 3 to 4 years, 5 Moons is probably more than what I would write now, just because Cypher is so simple and smooth by comparison. Mm-hmm. But still, it's fun. I enjoy it. I like thinking about it.
So is it one that you've gotten to play a lot of or run for people?
I have run a few small play tests of 5 Moons. Yeah, nothing big, nothing at conventions or anything like that, because there's like a year where I missed a Gen Con, right, that sort of thing. But it's something I can run like out of my head, just off the top of my head, mm-hmm. because that's actually how I prefer my jamming style, and I don't need to look up that many rules because
you wrote them.
I wrote them, sort of thing. And the classes are all built with a very similar chassis. It's just they're just kind of swapping out the 3 different save levels and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's different. It's a weird quirk in my design history. Let's just leave it at that.
But it's fun. So you've been working on Cypher for a while. Is that like your game of choice now to run that? And I'm assuming Invisible Sun is probably taking some space there for playing and running.
Yeah, I run an Invisible Sun game for MCG. Officially we play every other week, but it's more like every 3 to 4 weeks, just because we have people out.
You have to work.
And we've run a little Cypher now and then, just for in-house team games and for a couple of Twitch things. But now that I'm working on Stay Alive, the horror book, and Bruce is working on his sci-fi book, we're going to be actively playtesting more as part of our weekly design team meetings. So that'll be a lot more Cypher GMing that I'll be doing in the near future, which will be fun.
So all right. So I know that playtesting for like Pathfinder, especially when they released Doomsday Dawn, and it was literally designed to be a playtest rather than a promo for the new system. How different is playtesting for Cypher from playing normally?
Do you mean like as a designer sending out their stuff to external playtesters, or do you mean
internally,
like running stuff for our own?
Running stuff internally.
We will. It really depends. I mean, a lot of it is we know the system very well, and we have run it enough that we can kind of guess, oh, I'm having a problem with this, let's work on this aspect. And so we'll run a few test combats or run like a business scenario, and we're all analytical enough to say, okay, let's pause here. What is happening with this? Are we liking how this is? Okay, let's resume, and we'll like redesign that later. Or we'll do that at the end of the session and say, did this thing that I'm testing work? Did you like how it worked? How do you think it could be better? Like, we are really good about respecting each other's feedback, just because, well, Monty and Bruce and I have known each other since, I've known Monty and Bruce since 95, and Monty and Bruce have known each other since middle school. And Shauna's got like a lot of designer credit on her own. She's been an author for a long, long time. So we're very much like, we're open to talking with each other and being critical of each other's stuff, and knowing that we're doing so from a position of, I want this to be the best it can be, and I'm not trying to shoot down your idea because I think it's dumb. I just think this thing could be improved, or this really worked well, etc. Like, we're friends, and we're really good at communicating with each other about fun games, and it's a really cool opportunity just to have that sort of people in our circle that we can bounce our ideas off of.
Yeah, I will say this. We've played a few of the adventures you've written, and we've played a few adventures of, the other, of everybody on the team. But I have to say, Shauna has one of the best narrative voices ever. And I'm glad that she got brought into the game design world, because she tells stories differently than a lot of the game designers that I've seen before her. And I think it helps because of her background. And that is Cipher System Numenera the first game she worked on? Or I mean, we eventually want to have her on, but I was just curious because you brought it up and I didn't know.
I don't know if it's the first game she worked on professionally, but I know that she's played a lot of it. Like her first RPG was
the rabbits. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I don't know if she has like actual publishing credit or playtesting credit in other RPGs before Numenera, but she's been playing games for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Well, we're just gonna have to have her on then, so I can ask her that question.
Yeah. But yeah, the two adventures that she did for Gen Con that we've run are two of my favorites. And as far as like Numenera adventures go, you have my third favorite. With the Shadewalker.
Yeah, Shadewalker.
We ran that. I ran that one. It was one of the ones we were going to try to do for the various broadcasting things that we're doing with this stuff now, and our audio is bad on it. But I really loved how it really showcased every aspect of the game in a way that, you know, would draw in new players. And you could teach people, like, everything about the rules was in there. And it didn't feel like it was all, like, crammed in it. It all felt organic. And, you know...
I think it's probably one of my favorite teaching games because of that. I think we're getting feedback. But, someone's doing an invisible game one shot right now. Well, you can't leave us. We're here talking. I mean, we're only going to put this on YouTube, but you should stay and watch us. But actually, it is getting close to 10 o'clock at our time. Did you have any other questions for Sean?
Well, we talked a little bit about the Five Moons and your best game ever, Arcana of the Ancients. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about that's going on that we might have missed?
Well, sure. So Bruce and I wrapped up designing the new Cipher System rulebook a couple of weeks ago and gave that over to Monty. And he, I think, wrapped that up his contribution to today. Like, he did developer pass and all the stuff that was new from it, and wrote it a couple little extra bits. We're really excited about how the new stuff has turned out. Like, one thing that is probably going to shock people is that we took all of the abilities for types and for foci, and we said, let's just cram them all into a big giant list, kind of like the spells section of the player's handbook. And so instead of like having the glaive and have all these abilities listed there with full paragraph descriptions, we just say glaive, or not glaive, but like warrior, tier 1, A, B, C, D, E. And you just know to look to this vast list of abilities, and then, adept, A, B, C, D, E. And it bears a halo of fire, F, G, H, I, J. And so the focus is really on, hey, GM, here are all these tools for you building your own foci or building up your own, aspects. Like, if you need to make a different sort of explorer for your campaign, here's how to do that. And here is the explorer, here's the warrior, here's halo of fire, here's murders. Here are all these examples of that. But like, the actual write-ups of those are now about half a column, because all the meat of it is in this other chapter. But it's really talking to the GM and saying,
we could use that.
If you want to run something kind of weird and different in your campaign, here's how you build that. And here are examples that we built for you. But it just means that we can condense all that information, and types and foci doesn't end up being this gigantic chapter at the beginning that has all the character abilities. It's like looking at the D&D player's handbook and saying, well, what if the wizard had all the spells in it, and all the cleric had all the spells in it, instead of being its own thing? It's, we put all that over there, make it kind of more of an encyclopedia of all these abilities. And one of the things that we did was look at it and be like, we've got an ability called Assassin and an ability called Assassinate. They should either be the same thing and have the same name, or they should have very different names and do different things. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, but the problem is that we had the Cipher System rules, and we had some abilities from Strange and Expanded Worlds, and we had Numenera Discovery and Numenera Destiny. So we put all those things together in this gigantic list, and there are like 1,200 abilities that are going to be in this new CSR.
Oh, sweet.
And keeping in your head, like, because it's not always like assassin versus assassinate. Sometimes it's like, death gaze versus fear gaze. We wouldn't necessarily know that those two things are similar. So I had to go through and I categorized all of them to say, okay, these are abilities that are support abilities, they augment your ally. These are abilities that are meta abilities that enhance your other powers. These are protection powers, these give you attack ability. And that let us kind of sort those abilities down into smaller categories to say, okay, now I need to keep 300 attack powers in my head and think about how those things are duplicates instead of 1,200. Okay, here are the 20 powers that affect like followers all one together. But we use those categories to say, hey, for example, if you're going to make a very charming, like celebrity sort of focus, at tier 1, give them like a defense ability. Tier 2, maybe give them a follower ability. Tier 3, give them an attack ability, and so on. And it says use the list of refer to the list of attack abilities. And so it's helping you filter out. Oh, okay, I don't need to worry about the other 1,100 abilities. I need to think of these 100. Which of these be cool for the thing that I'm designing for my game?
So if you want to build
there's a lot of work. It's fun, and we're really excited that people are going to really dig it when they see it.
So if you wanted to build a totally support character rather than, something that, because we've actually been working on some stuff and trying to put some things together, and now you're coming out with it. And I'm excited, but now I'm mad because we went and did all this work.
You'll have it in print.
But we learned something, and it was a deeply spiritual moment when I didn't kill my husband again.
But I mean, the thing is you're both into game design, and so you want to get your hands dirty and figure out those mechanics.
Right.
And you may look at how we did it and go, I'm not going to do it quite like that. Or you might go, oh, that's exactly what we were going to do. Yep. Either way, you want to work on, people who like to work on engines are going to work on engines, even if they have like a really good mechanic who will take care of their car for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
not engines, not car engines, but game engines.
Yes.
Yeah. He takes them apart all the time. I'm like, really? That engine works just fine.
And other times I'll just like pile things together, like I've gone through and found most of the descriptors and tried to put together a comprehensive descriptor list for myself. Oh my word, you guys have been busy.
Yeah.
Busy.
Yep, did that too. Because we had to go and look at what was going to go in the Cypher System rulebook. And a lot of like all those connections. Like, oh, here's 4 different connections for other 4 members of the party. Well, I guess we should take all of those, sort them all together, remove the duplicates, and say, hey, GM, if you're going to build a new descriptor, here's like 100 different possible connections for you to choose from.
So the other big change you guys announced that you were going to do with this rulebook was ciphers. And you have been posting online about the new cipher deck. Question.
The main thing. Sorry, do you have a specific question? I'll answer.
Well, I was going to say you've been posting questions for how you were for things that we thought would go well into the cipher deck. So I was just curious as to how that was panning out for you. Did you hear?
Sorry, for a second. Did you have a specific question, or were you
not really? I was just asking about that in general. Generally.
So how is the new cipher deck?
Well,
ciphers.
The main changes that we're doing in the new CSR is that there are manifest ciphers, which are physical items, and there are subtle ciphers. In the original CSR, manifest ciphers were the default. And so people are like, well, how am I going to shoehorn manifest ciphers into every setting that I run with CSR? Now, in the new CSR, subtle ciphers are the default. So you don't necessarily have physical manifest ciphers in your campaign. We're just going to assume everything runs on subtle ciphers. And you can have manifest ciphers on top of that. But we're using those subtle ciphers, and we're using those subtle ciphers to make a subtle cipher deck. And I think one of the fun things that we're adding to this subtle cipher deck is that one of the issues that people have with using subtle ciphers is, unlike handing out treasure, like potions and scrolls to a fantasy game, it's not necessarily as easy to go, oh, you know what, I need to hand out some subtle ciphers, and now's a good time to do that. So we're putting something on the back of every card of the subtle cipher deck, and there's like a bunch of these. So you'll have a different one every I think there are 20 of these out of the 100. Sorry, let me repeat that in a more coherent way. There are 100 cards in the subtle cipher deck, and there are 20 of these little blurbs that go randomly on the back of each card. And the blurbs all are prompts for reminding the GM when to hand out subtle ciphers. And it might be, oh, next time somebody comes back from the bathroom, hand out subtle ciphers. Next time somebody rolls a natural, hand out a subtle cipher. Next time somebody moves down the damage track, hand out a subtle cipher. And so it's just, you can leave that card back up on the top of the deck, and it'll be there for the GM to go and look down. Oh, right, I need to hand out subtle ciphers. Here's a good excuse for me to do that. Here's a good trigger for me to do that.
That's a really good idea.
I've been wondering about that myself for our games, and I've come up with something I'm going to try at some point. And I'm actually thinking about doing custom cipher decks for each player. So
Cool.
They'll have their own deck in front of them, and every time they go to take a rest, they can draw up an extra cipher.
To the max, to their max
Right,
holding
and then
capacity.
you can discard if you needed to, but and then just keep shuffling through them. And then I'm thinking about trying to do some like ciphers that are specifically tied to your background, so that if you've got a mentor, and there might be a cipher in there that's like mentor's words, and if you use it, I might do like a short flashback scene where we talk. Then the player and I talk about, well, what did your mentor say to you, and what did you do on this occasion, and kind of use that as an opportunity to do a little bit of side role playing right there at the table.
Oh my gosh, all these things he thinks about when I'm not around. I had no
know.
idea. It's amazing. I thought you were just cut out copy person that sat here when I was gone.
But I've got some general notes on that I'm going to post up for our patrons that are watching this here in the next couple of days. But
It's really cool. I was going to say that's just something that you can do because it's your campaign. It'd be a lot
Right.
harder for a publisher to do that unless they're specifically made for, like, here's a adventure path, here are the 5 pre-gens that come with that, and here are subtle ciphers or manifest ciphers key to those pre-gens. So you
Right.
have a cool opportunity that's harder for a publisher.
Right. And actually, we'll be using it probably on our stream, so it'll be a little bit different that way too.
Nice.
But I was just thinking, even from just a standpoint of having the subtle cipher deck, handing out randomly 4 or 5 extra ones to everybody and letting people do them at their rests, or and then doing things at discoveries, bathroom trips, because I hadn't thought of that. That's actually a pretty useful.
Every time someone gets a fresh beverage. Well, see, last week we played a game and Andrew said, go ahead and pick your ciphers before we start. So I picked my ciphers.
I should never have done it that way.
And so now I'm not allowed to pick my ciphers again.
They're like, do you want us to roll them or pick them? I said, I don't care. Just whatever.
So I picked 3 very, very useful ones, and I'm not allowed to pick my own ciphers again. So this is what happens when you let women read books. Cause I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That was terrible for me to say. But I can get away with saying it. It looks like Cosmic Power is asking how much support for the strange is going to be in the new Cipher System books.
I mean, in the same way that we don't have any specific support for Numenera in the Cipher System book, but it's stuff that you could use for the Numenera book. I mean, there are 1,200 abilities in there, type abilities, focus abilities. And so a lot of those are from Numenera or from other sources that never appeared in the Strange. So you could easily say, oh, you know what, I want to create a new focus for a specific recursion. Oh, and here's a bunch of abilities that this recursion focus has that have never been in print in a Strange product before because they're from some other non-Strange source. The fact that we're switching to subtle ciphers and we're going to have the subtle cipher deck augmenting that, that's another thing. We added a couple of new sections. We're adding a section about romance as a genre and post-apocalyptic. Bruce has picked up from Expanded Worlds and revised it a bit. So there will be new genre-specific sections in the Cipher System rulebook that you could use for doing recursions in the Strange. So some.
I actually thought the first edition Cipher System rulebook was a great addition for doing things for the strange, for just that reason, because the setting material in the back was a good starting point for recursions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have not played the strange as much as we might want to, simply because, it's not really a new system, but it's a new way of thinking, and it's sometimes hard to,
Well,
get people on.
honestly, with 5 different official, is it 5? Did I have that count right? 5 official Cipher System settings: Unmasked, Predation, Gods of the Fall, Numenera.
Numenera
Yeah,
and Strange.
Yes. So, yeah. I'm not surprised we haven't played a whole lot of the Strange, because we've delved most deeply into Numenera, and then we've been doing a lot of, as weird a mashup as we can come up with for Cipher System.
We're our new game that we started last Friday is sort of Wild West meets anime, Jaeger versus Kaiju,
Magic.
spiritual.
So,
Alchemy.
I mean,
There we go. I think that's all of it.
yeah.
The fun thing about the strange is it allows you to just, hey, there's a recursion where that is the norm, and you can go off from this 5 or 6 session tangent into crazy kaiju magic, Western fighting, and then come back to Earth and be like, whoa, that was weird. Let's go to, sci-fi Camelot.
Right.
Oh, and then we're going to go find some cyborgs over here and do this sort of thing. And I think my favorite thing about the strange, and this is my pitch for when I talk to people at conventions who've never heard of it, is, when you're playing a fantasy game or a modern game or whatever, and you hit a point where you watch a show that you really like, you're like, oh, I want to incorporate this plot element into an adventure in my show, and one of your players is like, oh, this is an episode of the Dresden Files. And you're like, yeah, you figured it out, thanks. Just shut up. I'm trying to put this cool adventure in. With the strange, it's like, yeah, because we're in the Dresden Files recursion.
Right.
So it's okay that you have all these Dresden Files tropes going on, because you're there. There's Harry Dresden. We're going to go and help him do some stuff, and then we're going to get back out of here. So it's okay to embrace those things that everyone recognizes. That, you can play Star Wars as a recursion because there is a Star Wars-like recursion, and you can have lightsabers and Wookiees and that sort of thing. Oh, he's a Wookiee. Yes, he's a Wookiee. Literally, he's a Wookiee.
Well, and that's what I really like. That's what I really like about the strange.
Absolutely.
Is that it really allows you to make your own fanfic. You can just role play your own fanfic, and everybody buys in. It's like watching, Supernatural Scooby-Doo episode, or whenever shows do that real campy, pop culture crossover kind of stuff. I mean, that's what the strange is. That's not what the strange is for specifically, but that's what the strange can be used for to great success, and that's why I really like it.
Yeah, you can do all sorts of crazy things in the strange, and it's a lot of fun because of it, but it just hasn't hit our table a whole lot yet.
Right, because we've been playing the same one-off game for 2 years now.
It was meant
Seriously?
to be it was meant to be a short filler game, and it has generally been one of the most popular games I've run at my table.
Yeah, we have more buy-in on this throwaway game than we have had on any other game that we've played that I can remember.
And it was basically, let's just try Numenera and see what it's like, and we'll try it for a couple of weeks and wrap it up. And no, didn't ever wrapped up.
Nope. We're actually mad we're getting close to the end because we have to quit. All right. Good night, Justin. I'm sorry. I don't know, Sean, if you can see our chat stream or not, or if you're just watching us on Skype. But
I can't see it on Skype. I closed my Twitch window because I didn't know if that was causing lag on my end. So
okay.
I'll catch up to it, watch the video on YouTube later.
Yeah, so that's why I've been trying to read what everybody's been saying and stuff like that.
Everybody who said something funny, you're hilarious.
Yes, you guys have all been very funny tonight.
So I think that was all the things I had.
And it was all I had.
And I can't believe I had forgotten to actually mention the Cipher System rulebook. I feel really bad.
Well, there's only
Because
like
that's one of the ones I was
5,000.
like really excited about when we were first talking to Sean about coming on. I was like, "Ooh, the new book," because that's the one I'm like, okay, when's the Kickstarter you're gonna fulfill?
It's fine, Matt. We talked about it. It's good. Like you didn't have any
I
long-standing
know.
Greyhawk questions for me, so I think that's fine.
Do you
No,
do you get questions about Greyhawk still?
I still do. I still get Greyhawk and Forgotten Realms questions.
It's just a game. No, I'm just kidding.
The look on his face.
People love their favorite setting, and so people are like, "Oh, what about this god? Because you wrote this god article about this thing for Greyhawk." I'm like, I vaguely remember that, but again, it was 20 years
I was
ago.
gonna say.
It was like a whole person ago.
That
who was an
article
adult,
is old
when I
enough
wrote
to
that.
drink.
Right.
So, what sort of reference I was making with this kind of one-off person's name? That could have been some other employee. It could have been a weird, deliberate misspelling of another Greyhawk character. It could have just been like an in-joke that is supposed to be mysterious. Like, I don't know. So do what you want with it. That's cool. I love that you were excited about it. But like 20 years ago, man, there's alcohol involved.
I
was gonna say
style.
there's always a difference between designer me today and designer me from 5 years ago, and I imagine that there's like been about
4
15,
designer
20.
news for you. Okay, so
Sean K Reynolds out there in the past. One for every time you've worn a different hat.
when
Well, it's
someone
funny because now and then, like, I'll dig up an old article. Like, I wrote a series of articles called Spellbooks of Faerun or something like that for the Wizards website after I left Wizards of the Coast, and I was doing some contract work, and I just did like this 10 article series about here's a history of this one particular wizard and their spell book, and then here's their spell book, the list of spells in it, and then here's like 1 or 2 new spells in that. And I look at those now, I'm like, I wrote this? Like, I literally don't, vaguely, I'm like, okay, this sounds like something that I would write, but I don't remember these details. I'm like, oh, it's nice when I read my old writing and go, oh, I was very clever here if this was me. But it's just been, again.
of course it was you.
Right.
So when someone asks you questions like that from now on, what you should say to them is, well, what did you think that I meant? And when they tell you, you say, oh my gosh, you got it right. And see, then
Until it stacks up that everybody starts arguing. He told me I got it right. No, he told me I got it right.
well, that's a problem.
Then it's
That's a
weird.
them problem. That's a them problem, not a Sean problem.
For the longest time, actually, the motto of the Forgotten Realms team was, we were drunk.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I felt that way a lot.
You, though. Like, if you ask any old school Forgotten Realms person, like at TSR, what was the motto of the Forgotten Realms team? They'll say, we were drunk, or something very inappropriate.
Very similar.
Ed Green would want that. One of the two.
My approach to the realms, because I ran it briefly, my approach to the realms was everything that was written that I hadn't read is not canon. And so like all the fiction, even the fiction I had read was Bard's Tales. And Elminster was a drunk and about useless when they went to go see him, because everybody's like, oh, he's a sage, he's going to know everything, let's go see Elminster. And that was always their first response was, let's go see Elminster. And they get there and he's just kind of like, go do your thing. I don't know why I have this reputation. Go off. And I just couldn't keep up with it. There was so much, and my players knew it better than I did. They're like, oh, we want to play in the realms. And I'm like,
No.
I don't know it that well.
Dude, when I was working at Paizo, I didn't have time to read all the stuff that Paizo produced.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't, and they don't really put out quite the same amount of stuff that TSR did. I mean, they put out quite a bit of stuff, but
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
yeah. Michael's one of the people posted that they thought that was a really great way to handle Elminster. I agree. I think that's really clever. Well, and it does encourage.
He's always telling stories.
It encourages your players to go out and make their own stories rather than leaning on the canon NPCs.
That's always been one of my biggest problem with very famous properties. Mm-hmm. We ran Star Wars for a while, and everybody wanted to turn everything over to Luke Skywalker to handle.
Okay, well, so we're sorry. Jeez.
And Luke's like, I have to use the bathroom now and then. You're taking this.
I've run away. I've changed my name. I don't go by that anymore. I no longer answer to mom either. So,
so I mean, those are just easy ways to handle that. Just it doesn't exist. So, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, guys.
I don't know. Did anybody else in chat have any other questions?
Really quick, because this is your last chance.
Last gasp.
Oh, someone else. Michael, it's another one. Another person posted, oh man, that gives me an idea when they do that roll on the confusion spell results table or similar.
So actually, I do know that there are two questions that came from our other sources that I should have asked that I almost forgot to.
Oh my gosh,
so
you are useless.
Number one, Dean from Cypher Unlimited wanted to know when you're going to game together. And two, Michael McNeil has asked me to ask everybody that comes on, how do you prepare differently for a game that you're running on your own versus a game setting that you have written?
Maybe answer the Dean one first. It seemed like it was easier.
Did you catch that, Sean? Did I break up?
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Well,
I think he's playing. I think Sean's messing with us because he doesn't want to answer the question.
or he's thinking.
I can't tell.
I have not heard anything from you in about 60 seconds.
Okay, hold on. That's what we were afraid of.
So 2 questions. That's what I heard. That there are questions.
Can you hear us yet? Yay, nay? Yes. You can hear us? Okay. So the first question was from Dean from Cypher Unlimited. He wants to know when you're going to game together next.
I'm trying to make plans for Gen Con to have gaming time for me.
Okay. So
there you go, Dean.
There you go. And then the next question was from one of our regular viewers, and he wanted to know if there's a way. He's asked us to ask every designer that comes on if there's a difference between the way you prepare something that you have written for publication, if you're running something that you've published, if there's a difference between the way you prepare for your published material versus your home games.
He can't hear us again.
I need you to repeat that second question.
So do you
then you prepare blank from a blank?
So do you prepare your home games differently than you prepare your published materials? You were too long. He still can't hear us.
And you're still not hearing.
Yes, we have.
All right. I think we're breaking up.
So, Michael, I'm going to say that no, Sean does not prepare any differently between those two. He's a professional. He flies by the seat of his pants.
I heard about the seat of my pants, which is.
I know, this is so weird.
I'll go talking about my pants, Monica.
Well, I took a picture of you in pants once. Do you prepare differently for home games versus published stuff?
Hold on, I'm going to get in the chat room.
Okay. I wonder why we're cutting out now.
It's not in chat.
It will be.
It will be.
I think that's comforting.
In the Twitch chat room, so you can ask me the question there. I think most of this lag is on my end, which I apologize for.
Fortunately, we can hear you for most of it, so.
I'm typing.
I know.
No. I'm telling him if he can hear us.
I'm getting little bursts. Hold on, see if I can text you here.
Yeah, he's seized up again.
because I moved that window off. Because it's
he
glitchy.
Oh, where'd he go?
He said lag is on his
my...
And now he's seized. Oh, he's texting it to us. He said, "What's the question?"
Okay, let me
recopy
it. Yep, he fell off.
He fell off. All right.
I'll tell you what, friends, we will send that question to Sean, and we'll get something. We'll get him to answer that for us, and we'll post it on our Facebook page and our own feeds and stuff like that, so that we get that answer for you, Michael. But I think if that's the case, I don't know. I might have his phone number. I can text him. Let me see. But at this point, I think we're probably going to need to.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to hide that.
Oh, no. I guess that's not it. All right. Well, we will get that to you. So thank you all for joining us. Yes, we're very excited that the technical difficulties waited until the very end of the show instead of the very beginning.
We actually got to start on time.
Yeah, we got to start on time. We actually had a person who could talk to us that wasn't us, because we are so boring.
They weren't sick.
I know.
The system was working. This has been fantastic. Thank you all for joining us.
Yep. And we will be gaming on Friday, 9:00 Eastern, 6:00 Pacific.
Our regular Friday night
hangout. We will also be on next Tuesday doing Insights and Inspiration. We're not really sure yet what's going to happen next Friday, because we are going to be out of town at a wedding. But you never know. We have enough equipment that we can travel with.
And it does travel, so we'll see.
So we'll see what happens. But until then, I'm Monica Marlowe.
Well, hold on.
What? Oh, sorry. Well, I am Monica Marlowe, though.
You are Monica Marlowe. But before we sign out, just a reminder, in addition to all those things, like and subscribe when you're over here. Follow, get your friends to follow, like and subscribe here. You can like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, please. Let people know. Go over there. Follow our videos. We also have a Facebook page, which will give you updates as to what's going on and things like that. We are we're on Patreon, and we've got.
I forgot to pimp our stuff. Oh, Sean is trying to.
Sean's trying to come back in.
Sean's trying to come back. We may yet have it. Give us just a second. Are you there, Sean?
Did we get you? Maybe.
Nope.
Poor network connection. There we go.
There he is. Yeah, you're still kind of cutting up.
Phone now.
I know. I was going to say that. So, Andrew's going to put you up. Hold on.
Hang on 1 second, because I closed my window. Let's see if I can.
There he is.
Bingo.
Okay, so really quick. I just texted it to you. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you will do us a favor, we still don't have a very good connection with you. So if your answer is, I don't do anything differently, that's great. But if you have an answer of substance, will you write it down for us?
Or try it.
Try. Oh, that's our YouTube channel.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I don't see the text where it is, so how about you repeat it to me verbally, and then we can just cut all this out in post before you upload it to YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to have to cut some stuff out probably.
Do you prepare your home games differently than your published materials when you run it?
Oh God, so much, yes. Because I will often have 3 or 4 names and a general idea of the plot, for what I want to do in a session, and that's what I just kind of roll with for my home games. Even for convention games, I'm just Mr. Super Improv. Like, I've run games for people that I didn't even have a map. I just kind of made the map as we went along. It was a dungeon crawl. But for a professional, published sort of thing, it's like, no, I can't do that. I can't expect the GM to just be able to have crazy ideas off the top of their head like I do. So I write out all the details, and you got to go and put in the room descriptions and then the plot stuff. And I tend to over explain, well, if the person does this, they'll do that. If the person does this, they'll do that. And like, even if it's like, and if the person waves at them with a left-handed flag bearing a yellow lotus on the front face, then they will know that's a secret code for this other adventure. I'm like, no, the people won't do that. But like, I just over plan.
So you write if you give a mouse a cookie.
Give the what?
If you give a mouse a cookie.
Oh, mouse. So they said give a mouth a cookie.
Yeah, no. There's a children's book. If you give a mouse a cookie, he'll want a glass of milk, and then it keeps going on, and then eventually he wants a cookie again. Sorry, spoilers on a children's book, guys.
So rude.
I am an awful human being.
There are people discovering that now for the first time.
Well, that's on them.
Of course, they're all like 5.
Yeah, and they're on this podcast.
They're surely not watching us. So you do a lot different. So you don't really prepare for your homebrew per se, but
yeah, I mean, I prepare a bit more for Invisible Sun, but if it's a one-off game or just an ongoing like D&D or something like that, it's just very much kind of run off the top of my head because I've read enough other material, and I might draw bits and pieces of different adventures that I've ran or played or run in the past 15 or 20 years, for example, and just put them all together into something. And I'm good at riffing off of what the players are doing. If the players are kind of like interested in exploring one way or acting a certain way, I am more than willing to drop whatever concept I had 5 seconds ago and run with that. But for published stuff, I mean, you have to understand that I wrote for the Forgotten Realms, and the Forgotten Realms is a very detail-oriented setting, and I'm a very detail-oriented person, so let me really scratch that itch of, every single character is an NPC with a name, and they've got a backstory, and they need 2 or 3 sentences, and this and that. And so I just got the opportunity to go and regurgitate whole cloth, all this brand new. Regurgitate implies that I ate something, and then I'm just repeating it out. But this is just, I'm creating my own stomach eruption.
So it's like a mama bird. You digest it first and then spit it back out. That's so much better.
Yes.
So
The visuals are awesome.
It's like a gizzard that's 8 to 10 years old, like, oh yeah, I read this story once. That's your adventure.
I like Sean so much. He's so awesome.
I'm a big proponent of like taking stuff and reskinning it. And actually, one of my best reskinning stories is that my brother-in-law JD Weicker did. He was running a feng shui game for his friends and started a new campaign. It's like, all right, you guys are all in a bar in Tijuana having a drink, and then walking through the front doors of this little cantina that you're in is the ghost of the sheriff of the town. And he points at one person in the corner of the bar and says something you don't understand, and then he fades away. And they look over at that guy, and the guy's like suddenly like horrified and terrified. And it goes this whole thing. They talk to the guy, and it turns out that yes, he's the son of the former sheriff, and there's like the new sheriff is the old sheriff's brother, and there's this love triangle sort of thing going on. And they just do this whole campaign in feng shui set in Tijuana, and then they end the campaign, and JD says, and that's the story of Hamlet.
That's awesome.
that is awesome.
So you just reskin something, and people just, it helps them forget where the base material comes from. Like if you're going to run a Dresden Files based episode adventure in a Magic Fantasy game, that's going to be obvious. But if you run that as like a Call of Cthulhu thing, or as like a slasher movie, or something that's just not expected, that layer of deception helps keep the players from figuring out.
Absolutely. So I do have one follow-up on this real quick, because you said something that piqued my interest in there. You prepare more for Invisible Sun. Why does that happen?
Because the narrative for Invisible Sun is so character driven that I want to, like, I do a lot of development mode scenes.
Okay.
And there's so much detail that goes into those. Like it just becomes like some of these have become pages and pages of dialogue just for one development mode scene that like I've done with Darcy or I've done with Bear and that sort of thing. And because that's all done through text, I have all that text ready and I can just paste it into my own reference notes and say, oh, this character looks like this and they have this name and blah, blah, blah. And what my players actually haven't realized is I've been reusing those characters in a lot of other people's development modes and story bits because I have players who are in and out for work and for conventions where I was there. And so there are characters that have been important in other players' development mode sessions that I've introduced to the rest of the group independently of them, and nobody has put together that this character from Darcy's development mode is the person who showed up when Bear needed help.
Because Darcy wasn't there
at the same time. But eventually they're going to be like, how do you know this person? How do you know this person? I didn't realize they were the same person. And so this whole time, so just having all that data there, I'm basically writing a published adventure, but just for my own group's use.
Right.
Accidentally.
So let's hope that Bear and Darcy don't watch this.
They're on the blackout list.
They're on the
I actually
blackout
don't let
list.
them have the internet at all.
Oh wow! I thought Paizo had a broad reach, but apparently MCG is even bigger. I had no idea the Illuminati was so fun.
Well, I used to be the MCG community manager, so I have power over all their internet connections. They're not even on Facebook anymore.
Oh man. This is what happens when you live with somebody. Complete each other's thoughts.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Sean, for coming on with us tonight.
And thank you for coming back.
And yes, absolutely, because
No problem.
The fastest return of a guest ever.
that was a much better answer too than the one that you gave for me.
I know it was. I knew it wasn't going to be that.
So thank you again, everybody. Thank you all for joining us, and so I guess we do our sign-offs now.
Yeah. So this has been Insights and Inspirations with Sean K Reynolds as our guest. I'm Monica Marlowe.
And I'm Andrew Marlowe.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.